Hey guys, welcome to the Live Out Love podcast. Today I'm here with Ella Fuller.
Hey.
Me and Ella, we randomly kind of met just through different things, just Christian community here. But I'm just so excited to have her on the podcast. But I'm gonna give it away to her, and she's gonna talk a little bit about herself.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here, and I am a sophomore here at Clemson and majoring in early childhood education, and I'm from Greenville. Went to Eastside like most of the people here, honestly. And yeah, I've just been mostly involved with FCA during my time here and love it. I'm so happy here. And Olivia and I did meet like so randomly. I remember seeing you like the first couple weeks of school and just being like, she is so cool and I want to be really good friends with her. And then I like didn't see you for so long, and now we're in the same hill tribe, and
That's
it's
true.
hype. And
Go Juniper.
Yeah, she's awesome. Go Juniper.
I know. I know, that's so funny because I literally thought the same thing about you. And Ella leads a small group here like through FCA, and a lot of my friends are in her small group, so they'd all talk about how amazing she is. And I'm like, I just would love for her to come on and talk on the podcast.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Small group is huge and awesome.
That is so cool. Well, today I kind of want to continue like a little series about prayer. And last week we had Cindy Allison come on and talk about prayer, but today I asked Ella just to talk about her walk in prayer and walk with the Lord. And I just feel like she's very wise and has a lot of wisdom when it comes to that. So she's on the prayer team at FCA.
Oh yeah, prayer team.
So just take it away, and I just love to hear and listen to what you have to say.
Yeah. Well, I feel like also just want to say this before I start talking that like I do not feel like prayer and listening to the Lord is something that I have mastered, but I do feel like I'm starting to like grasp the Lord's design and intention behind prayer, and just like am chasing that alongside everybody that's going to listen to this. And honestly, I feel like prayer has been super intimidating to me for a while, just because it feels like really unknown and really like there's a really hard way to like do that and connect with the Father. But it's also so beautiful. I feel like something I've been thinking about recently is just like the sole design and like reward and goal of prayer is like just to connect with the Father and just intimacy with Him. I feel like it's easy to be like when you bring your desires and your requests to the Lord and be like, the goal of this prayer is like that they are answered, and like that what I am seeking comes to be, and like that's just not true. Like the sole goal of prayer is just to like talk to Him, and I feel like there's not really like a verse that says that, but that just like seems like the Lord's design is like just so He can commune with us and know us and we can know Him. And I've been thinking about the verse in Psalm 27 that says, my heart says of you, seek His face. Your face, Lord, I will seek. And there's another version that says, my heart has heard you say, come and talk with me. And my heart responds, Lord, I'm coming. And I just like love that the Lord's design is just to like talk with us. Like prayer is really just like He wants to know us, and like He wants to spend time with us. He wants to know like our fears and our desires and our thoughts, like what stressed you out today. Like those things are important to Him. And just like I just think prayer can be such like in a box of like, it is when I have something to thank Him for, it is when I have something I need from Him, but like it is so much bigger. Like you don't just talk to your friends when like you need something from them. And so I've been learning a lot about that. I think just like how beautiful it is and how much bigger it is than like I even understood. And also just like I was listening to you and Abby Grace's podcast of just like how much joy there is in prayer, but like there is so much joy to be found when you're like resting with your Creator and like the one who knows you and the one who like cares about you more than anyone in this earth ever will be able to. Like that is incredible. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of like what I'm trying to learn about prayer and trying to like make my mindset be while I'm sitting with Him. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess with the whole being on the prayer team for FCA, has that made you stronger in your prayer life, or just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I feel like I have not like had to consistently pray over people like that ever. Like,
wow.
like I'd be like, someone would tell me something they need prayer over, and I'd be like, oh yeah, like I'll be praying for you, but not like spiritually like going into battle for them in that moment. And that has been really cool, and also just made me like so much more aware of just like spiritual warfare and like how real the Lord is and the Holy Spirit, but like also how real the enemy is and like what he's doing, which is really heavy a lot of the time. But I think that like what I was saying earlier of like when I am praying over people, that like my mindset would not be like, Lord, like these are our requests, and like if you love us you will answer them. Being like, Lord, like we trust you, and like you're sovereign over this, and like if it's your design to like answer what we're asking of you, then like that's awesome. But like what we're seeking is like found in that moment of prayer, of like we're sitting before the Father and like getting to be in his presence, and like that's as best as it's gonna get, you know. Like our physical circumstances don't change, and like how close we are with the Lord. And I feel like that's something I've been learning, of like not feeling like it's failing when I'm praying over someone and then like maybe nothing changes. Like that doesn't really matter. It's just like all about like how we interacted with the Lord and how we got to be in his presence. And that's been really cool. And just also like recognizing that like the prayer of a righteous person really is like powerful and effective. Like it's powerful because we get to be in his presence, not because it's like we're gonna pray this and he's gonna answer, but like at the same time like it is powerful. And I just think that that's like a beautiful balance of like the Lord hears us and desires to answer, but at the same time it's like he's sovereign and he doesn't need to answer to reveal himself like that.
No, that's awesome. I think it literally always goes back to like his timing over ours. And especially when you are like praying with someone in that moment and they're probably just like begging for, I don't know, a miracle to happen or something, that they're probably praying with you like when you're praying with them at FCA and stuff. But it's really cool to be like, well, it's like not in our timing and we just have to leave it all to him. And it's really cool how like after like maybe he didn't answer that day, but then when we do have faith in it, it's like, oh, he answers it, and it's like, whoa. Yeah,
that's so cool. It's been sweet. It's been really cool to just be like feel loved by the Lord even in the times where like maybe he doesn't answer. Just that is really like so consistent. And it's also a really cool way of like partnering with him, of like I had never really had to do that before, and it just like makes me feel closer to him when I'm like going to battle like for someone else. It's like, Lord, like I need you and this person needs you, and I just don't think I'd had to like think of the Lord like that before. So that's been really cool.
That's awesome. Wow. I guess, do you have any examples, like you don't have to say names, but of like a one time that you prayed over someone, or did you ever like see anything come out of that after?
Honestly, no. I feel like I try, like if I know the people, to follow up with them of like the next day and be like, hey, like I'm still praying for you, like that didn't end Thursday night, like, and just being there for them in that way. And I think that honestly like the reward and joy in that has been like them feeling like they're not alone in that, of like seeing people be so appreciative and be like, I was alone in this battle, but like now I have people backing me up in prayer, and like that has been incredible. I feel like a lot of the things that people have wanted prayer for, like honestly haven't gotten better. Like it's been hard, and like I've seen there's been some people where I've like periodically prayed for like once a month, and like they'll still come and pray over like the same things, and like that's hard to be like, dang, like you're still having to deal with this, but like that's like hours of wrestling with the Lord that we've gotten to have over that. And just like what I was saying earlier, like maybe they didn't get their prayer answered, but like we've gotten to be in community together. And I was telling you this earlier, but like I think that is such a beautiful part of prayer and like community, of like if the goal is to just like intimacy with the Father, and like you invite someone else in on that, like you are getting to experience intimacy with the Father, and now that person is also. And I just think that is like a lot of what the Lord wants, is like for people who are praying over each other to like all come before him, and like how beautiful it is for like the father to look at his children like all coming to him and all pleading
That's
with
awesome,
him, and like it's not one person that's like, I'm alone in this and I need you. It's like, I'm not alone in this, and like I have this whole group of people backing me up and all wanting to experience you. And so yeah, honestly, I haven't really seen a lot of like, I prayed this, then I saw this, but it's been cool to like still see it be effective in their lives, even if it's not like what they thought it would be.
That's true. And like even if like prayer doesn't get answered, like you still get to like, say someone you had to pray for like didn't really know Jesus, and they were maybe like at FCA randomly one Thursday, and maybe you got the opportunity to just kind of like speak truth into their life, and that will honestly like change the way they've like lived. They'll probably like be like, wow, like this person prayed over me. Maybe they don't even know what prayer really is. And it's so cool to like see that like different opportunities when it comes to praying. And even like I've definitely seen it happen when you're like praying over like someone, and just like maybe you don't know them and maybe you're like acquaintances with them, but it's like maybe it's just like in your daily time with the Lord, and you just kind of pray for them, and then you start seeing like a pattern of them like wanting to like change their life for the Lord. One example I have, I actually just got back from Maine, but when I was there, I have this one friend, and my whole life I've always gone to church, blah blah blah, and she kind of like saw me doing that, and I've never once really like fully just been like, okay, this is Jesus, this is what it's all about. Like I never really talked about the story or of like, you know, anything about that. I just kind of like always loved on her and always like prayed for her by myself. And it's so cool that when I moved to Greenville, she started going to church with her family, and it's been a year since she like went to church. Like I went to church with her on Easter, and it's been a year since she went to church with her family, and it was just so inspiring to see like I didn't even like do anything like physically like with her. Like I just like prayed on my own and in my own time, in my own quiet times with the Lord, and it's just so cool how it just worked. And I asked her that too, like, so like I don't know, like, how you doing? And she just was like telling me how it's so inspiring seeing someone else like live out faith for the Lord. And she said that she'd always just see me and be like, that's so cool, like I want that, like you're always so happy. And I'm like, well, this is Jesus. And I just like love that I got to experience like just like a year of her just being in the faith with the Lord, and how much has changed her. And it's so cool, like it really does change your ways. Like she's so happier now, and I feel like she definitely like trusts the Lord more, and like gives it all to him in prayer. And I just like am seeing that, and it's amazing. So like prayer works either way, whether it's like with someone, when you're just talking to the Father and praying about someone. And that's just one little testimony about it. But awesome. I just had to say that because I was like, it just happened. I'm like, this is so cool.
That's so cool. It's so cool that like your quiet prayers that like no one knows about are still powerful and effective. Of like the Lord heard that and like cares so deeply about your friend, and that's just beautiful. I know, that's right? Awesome.
But I think also too, I definitely struggle when I pray, because like I talked about this in the last podcast, but sometimes I'm like I'm afraid of something, or okay, this is a random instance, but every time I go on a plane, like I just got back from going on a plane, I always like pray. I'm like, okay, like protect me as I go, but I'm also like talking to him. But it's like I just like talked about like last podcast, like prayer without faith means nothing, but it is a struggle for me to like talk with him every day and like know that he's in control of my life. But then I know it's because I'm human and it's hard and I'm working on it, but sometimes like the fear in me is like, oh, like I'm gonna pray this, but like what if this doesn't work out, like, you know, and like storms or stuff like that, like I get scared. I'm like, I'm praying to him. And I don't know, do you have any advice for that, or for me or anyone else going through that, of like when you're praying and you are scared, but like knowing that the Lord is gonna work? Any tips or tricks or how that's helped you?
Honestly, like I said, still learning that also, but I think that like if the Lord is your greatest desire, and like you trust him the most out of like anyone in your life, like your parents, like this is really hard for me because I feel like my parents, I trust like everyone, but like what would it look like to trust the Lord more than them, or like trust that whatever happens is like the absolute best plan? And I think that it's like just something you have to remind yourself, like in the moment that you're praying, of like this is what this situation would look like if like I got to choose what it would look like, and then be like, what does it look like for me to align my desires with the Lord, and like have faith that like what he wants for me is also what I want for myself, because I want what he has. And like hopefully that's not your plane not crashing, but like if it did, like just that you want nothing else more than to glorify him. And like I think that desire like will come with faith, because that will like come together, you know. It's like you want that, and so you have faith that like he's got you. But it's hard because
it is
people
hard,
and like you can't understand. And also the Lord is just so like he feels as near as you let him. And like if you feel like he's distant, then that is gonna be like super hard to have faith that like he is not like your parents where you like see them and you're like, oh, they're close because I see them close. It's like God is close if you allow him to be close to you. And I think that's so important in prayer, because it completely like impacts every way that you pray. Of like if you pray like he's far away, then he's gonna feel far away. But like if you pray like he's a God that's close and cares about you, then like you'll have faith that he's gonna take care of you, because you trust that he's right beside you. So,
that's awesome. Do you ever notice like a time in your life when like you do feel distant? Like do you know like, oh, like I'm doing this, that's why I feel distant? Or like like
yes.
Like, what's your advice, I guess, like, to not feel distant with the Lord? And, like, I guess prayer does that, but, like, reading your Bible and, like, but I feel like that's also hard, because you don't want to be like, oh, I'm doing this to, like, do this religiously. Like, you want to do it to, like, be with the Lord. Like, it's in intimacy with the Lord. Same with prayer, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know.
No, I totally feel that. And, like, I just see, like, when I feel distant from the Lord is when I've been prioritizing other things above him, or when I, like, haven't been spending time with him that like a good relationship needs. Like you need to spend time with someone to feel close to them.
Exactly.
And I think that like you were saying, you don't want it to be a religious thing, but like sometimes forming that desire and like creating that comes out of a discipline. Like you have to like be like, maybe I wouldn't choose to spend 15 minutes in the Word right now, but like I know for me and the Lord's relationship that this is what needs to happen. And I feel like that happens to me all the time. Like when I sit down with the Lord, it's not always like I just want this so badly, and like it's like I just think I need to do this. And it's like either way, I mean, honestly, like I hate that for me and the Lord, because I feel like it would be super fun to be like, wow, they're just spending time with me because they feel like they have to. But like I think that the Lord is honored by like us putting aside our flesh desires, because like our soul is longing for him. Like that doesn't ever change. But like I just think our flesh can be like, well, like being with my friends, or like this would be more like whatever for me right now. But just like putting that aside, I think does bring him a lot of glory. And I think that like part of like cultivating time with the Lord that like does bring you joy and is something you desire is like knowing who you're talking to, and knowing like a lot of times when I first go to spend time with the Lord, I like get out my prayer journal and just write out like all these truths I know about the Lord, that like you don't have to hear from him, you don't have to hear him say like I am this, because like you know these things are true. Like they're things that he's already said about himself, of like just being like, Lord, like I know that you're a father, like I know that you're gentle, I know these things. And like once I like stated these things, it's like, dang, like I want to spend time with this person because he sounds really cool. And then just to like sit with him and be like, I am resting like with my creator, and like why would I ever have desire to be doing something else, because this is like the peak of my life, is like sitting, like life is never gonna get better than when you're just sitting with the Lord. Like whether you're like at the beach or like doing homework, like if you're abiding with the Lord, like that is like I don't know, I just think that is something I'm trying to grasp too, of like being present in my time with him and not like wishing I was doing something else, because like there's nothing else better than the Lord. And anyways, so just like all of that is like really hard, because it doesn't just come, like it takes effort to like think like that. But I feel like if your time with him becomes less of a discipline and more of like you're getting to spend time with one of your best friends, like that's like gonna make him feel a lot less distant and like he's with you.
That's good. I always like think of the little analogy of like, I guess like for instance, like say you have like an acquaintance and you maybe go get lunch with them like once a week, or just kind of like randomly see them walking down like the hallway or down the library bridge. But it's like if you only see them when you're walking down the library bridge, like you're not gonna form like a good relationship. And that's like the same with the Lord. Like if we're only seeing him when we're praying for our needs, or praying for when something's wrong in our life, or only reading the Bible on Sunday, or reading the Bible when we like feel like it, it's like, oh, like an acquaintance, but we don't, like, Jesus isn't an acquaintance. Like, he loves us, he created us, like, obviously he's our father, so he wants to be with us all the time. And I love that little analogy, because it's like, if we are like walking in faith with him, we are like reading our Bible and just like spending time with him, it like, he becomes our friend. And it's just a little thing where I always think about that whenever I'm like talking to him or reading my Bible. I'm like, no, I don't want you to be an acquaintance. It's like that one friend, like for you, like you were kind of acquaintances. I was like, no, I don't want to be an acquaintance. I want to be a friend with you.
Sweet.
Yeah,
for real. I feel like there are like so many ways that Jesus is obviously different than like a human friend, but like that is something that I think is really similar. Of like if you think about like your relationships with people and like the people you invest in, like that's who you feel close to. And I do feel like the Lord just desires that for us, that we would invest in him the same, like more than we would invest in our earthly.
And the cool thing about him is that he already loves us. Like he already knows us, so it's only us like getting to know him, you know. It's so cool that it's like we've already like he already wants a relationship with you. So
it's so true.
That's awesome.
So cool.
Well, I did want to ask you about guess like your new position with FCA and like how that happened and what that means to you and what it might look like for you next year.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I honestly don't feel like I know a lot of like what all it's gonna look like yet. I really want to just like sit with the Lord for a while and be like, what's your vision for prayer and like what role is it supposed to play in FCA next year? I just think that like what I was saying earlier, like this team really has taught me how important prayer is, and like it's not just something like where you're just speaking words into the air. Like it's powerful, and like the Lord hears that, and just like desiring for that team to be led well in like a place where the Lord isn't just talked about but like invited in, and like also like just praying with faith of like we're not asking you these things and just like leaving and hoping you heard them. It's like we're praying with faith that you're listening, and we're just like waiting for your answer, you know. So I feel like that's just like my idea of prayer, and just like learning what it looks like to like incorporate that into a team of like people that I just like I kind of view this team of like people who are going to like be spiritually on the front lines of like spiritual warfare, who are just like ready to go to battle, and like it's
prayer
gonna be
warriors.
hard. Prayer warriors. Like I just like I want the team to understand that like it's hard, and like the enemy is alive and like working just like the Lord is, but just with a lot less power. And
so true.
Just like when they're praying over people, like acknowledge like there's something going on here, but like it's not stronger than our spirit. And something I've been thinking a lot about of just like what does it look like to not pray out of like our flesh, but what does it look like to pray out of our spirit, of like when you're talking to the Lord and when you are listening to him, like your spirit is like trying to connect with like his creator, you know. And like I think it's really hard when we try to pray out of like a flesh of like, oh, like my broken flesh, will you please like connect with this holy God. Like that's just a really hard connection, but like he's given us the Holy Spirit to bridge that gap. And I feel like a lot of times I pray out of like my flesh, out of like what do I want, or like what does it look like for me to just like, but it's so much deeper, and I'm like trying to understand that, and trying to understand what it looks like to pray out of like a deep spirit. So
that's awesome.
That's also something I feel like there's a lot of ways I just like need to be more equipped and learn, and I'm like super pumped because I just feel like prayer just like keeps going, you know. Like, there's always more things you can understand.
So
of, like,
true.
What did the Lord mean by this in the Bible? Like what does he want for this part of prayer? And I'm really excited. But
that's awesome.
I don't even know how I like am here, like what like it looks. I just feel like the Lord just like was asking me to, and it just was like obedience. So we'll see.
That is so cool. Like. I'm so excited for next year and all that has in store for you.
Me too.
I guess another question I had, me and Ella I guess it was like 2 weeks ago, we went on a walk, and she's so, like I said before, she's very wise, and just like her walk with the Lord, and just like she's open to just learning so much about him and keep learning, you know. And we talked about this, I guess Zambia.
Yeah.
So can you just tell the story about the whole just Africa trip and just like how you like felt the Lord's voice and felt him like through all of that? And I just thought it was such a cool story, and I just want everyone listening to hear that.
Yeah, you guys, that was crazy. I think that listening to the Lord has felt so intimidating to me for a really long time, because I just feel like, how do I know what my thoughts are? How do I know what the Lord's saying? Like, I just hate that process. So I'm like, why can't you just come tell me what I'm supposed to do? Like, that'd be awesome. But that's not what we're called to do right now. And so I just like did not know what he wanted my summer to look like. And have been like felt super called to Africa for a while. Like, my whole life I want to go. And I was like, is this the summer that I'm supposed to do that? And it was like just a really cool process of like wrestling with the Lord of like, what are my desires and what are you asking me to do? And I really thought what was gonna happen is like I was gonna be scared and like not want to go, and he was gonna be like, no, like this is the summer you're supposed to go. And it was just like a really weird like sequence of events of like all these people in my life just like coming in and like wrestling with the Lord with me and being like, I'm hearing this from the Lord, I'm hearing this, and like it's like, this is awesome, like I'm like not alone in this. And just like a lot of people affirming that like they have also been feeling like I'm supposed to go to Africa at some point, like not necessarily this summer but just in the future. And I remember this one time, it was like the day that I needed to make a really big decision. This girl from my church at home like just talked to me on the phone and like prayed with me and was like, Ella, I'm gonna like intercede for you and like talk to the Lord, but just like ask that you're able to hear clearly from the Holy Spirit. And I was like, awesome. That is awesome. Just to be like our relationship with the Lord is already hard, and for people to be on the outside and like be like, Lord, like please speak clearly to Ella. I was like, I need people like you for the rest of my life. Anyways, so I like got to this point of like, okay, I feel like he's asking me to go, and then basically all the doors kind of just like shut. I was like, what? Like I felt like so clearly that you wanted me to go, and it was just like so funny to me because I feel like it ended up being like I wanted to go but he was like not yet. And just to be like, in the end, like when we're listening to the Lord and when we're talking to him, like our desires have nothing to do with it. It was like I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go, and he's like, you should go. And I was like, okay, I want to go. And he was like, nope, you're not gonna go. And I was like, oh my God, like what? And that was just really cool. And also like looking back on that like past month of like spending time with the Lord, like if I had gone to him the first time and been like, Lord, like what do you have for this summer? And he'd be like, oh, you're supposed to go to Zambia. Like we would have spent so much less time together because we just like sat on my porch in Daniel Square just like wrestling, like me writing out, Lord, just speak clearly, Lord, I don't know what to do. And it was like a really cool sense of dependence of like, I don't desire to do my own will this summer, like I desire to do what you want, I just don't know what that looks like. And like in the end, he's not gonna like hide his face from you, like he's not gonna have something he really wants to tell you and not tell you. Like that's not his intention.
That's
and
so good.
I think that is cool. It's like it's never a period of silence, it just could mean like a period of waiting. And it's really cool because now I think that there's an opportunity for me to go to Ethiopia, which like I just found out a few days ago about, and like to be like, what if this is the reason the Lord is like waiting this whole time, was because he like knew about this trip and that's the trip I was supposed to be on. And just like, what does it look like to like wrestle with the Lord, but like wrestle with him from a place of like, my only desire is you, and not like, I want to go to Africa, so I hope that's what you say. Like be like, I want to do what you want. And like I think he does value our desires, but like keep them where they're supposed to be, you know. Like the Lord's ultimate goal for you is so much more important than like anything you want, anything that you fear. Like those things don't matter next to the Lord, because he knows you and he knows what you can handle and what's like the best plan for you. And I think there's so much peace in that. And I think that there's just like a way to listen to the Lord that is honoring to him, of like you're honoring him in a sense of like, I respect you and I trust you. And like if you wait for him to talk but you're anxious the whole time and you're like, what if he doesn't do what I like, that is not gonna bring him a lot of glory, because he's like, you don't trust me, like I know you better than anyone and you're not trusting me with your summer. And like I just think that there were some ways that I could have done that better, of like not prioritizing what I wanted so much in this summer. And it's just really cool to see him be so faithful and be like, I know you want to go, and like you're gonna go when I want you to go. And so I think that just like as we listen to the Lord, I just am learning that of like don't put yourself at the center of listening to the Lord. It's like the Lord never leaves the center, and like whatever you're praying about, like that's all revolving around him, not like the other way around.
That's so good. You're just speaking truth right now. That's awesome.
This is awesome thing I'm still learning. I do not feel like I've learned it.
No, me too. I'm still learning. And I guess one way, like, how do you, I guess, hear the Lord's voice? Because everyone hears him different. And for you, what does that look like?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good question, because I feel like that is like, I literally called a girl like a month ago and was like, how do I hear from the Lord? So it's really funny you're asking me that now.
Well, because like I still kind of like struggle with that too. Like I know I hear him in some weird ways.
Yeah.
But
I honestly think that's it. I think that our whole time of like hearing from the Lord, our whole lives on earth is gonna be really weird ways. It's gonna be like, that is not how I thought you were gonna speak. But that's really cool. And I feel like I was thinking about the verse earlier today that was like, be still and know that I am God. And just like,
be still.
It is so hard to hear from the Lord if you do not know who you're trying to hear from. Like, if you're sitting in silence and you're like, oh, God, like, I wish you would just speak to me. God's like, I'm trying. Like, you're not.
Yes. Going off of that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
but,
you're good.
I was listening to this Sadie Robertson podcast, and she had Jen Johnson. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
She had her on the podcast, and they were talking about, like, hearing the Lord's voice, and Jen goes, just shut up and listen. And I'm like, and I listened to it, I was like, you're right. Like, I just need to be like, okay, God, I'm going to shut up and hear your voice and just, like, pray that prayer and just, like, literally just stop, like, overthinking. Because, like, a lot of the times our human, like, get in the way and we're like, okay, we're going to overthink and, like, we aren't hearing you. But if you shut up and, like.
He's like, I've been trying to say this too. Yeah. I think that it's hard. And, like, I think that we do have minds and thoughts that, like, just kind of cloud the direct, like, okay, I'm clearly hearing this from you. Like, that's just hard.
It is
but
hard.
I do feel like what I was saying earlier, there's like a way to listen to the Lord from your spirit that's like, you know it's him that's speaking to you. And honestly, sometimes you don't. It's like a guessing thing. And like, so he's just asking you to like be faithful and be like, maybe that's wasn't you, but like I need to like act on the little bit that you've given me, and just like, I don't know. I think that that's a fun part of following the Lord on earth, is like so much of it is like not clear, and like so much faith, and it's so cool to be like, I didn't really know if that's what you were saying, and then to like follow through and be like, oh, maybe that was from you. And like, it's sweet. It's cool how he just like reveals himself in a lot of different ways. And people, like, I feel like
so true.
Your community is like a huge way I think the Lord lets you hear from him, of like allowing other people to listen from the Lord and like just like support you and affirm you in what you're hearing. That's all so beautiful.
I know. I love just asking everyone that question, because everyone hears him and listens to him so differently from one another. Like, there could be someone who just knows the Bible back to back, and just like that's how they hear the Lord. It's just through the word. And like other people, it's through prayer and literally hearing like an actual voice. And I wish I had that. I really do. I know sometimes I can depict like, is that God saying something, or is that like me? But I have to pray a lot, and I feel like the more you are spending time with him, the more clearly you're picking up on his voice. And another thing, I've said this in podcasts before, but sometimes I can hear him through dreams. And some people like don't believe in that, and that is totally okay. Just my personal like relationship with the Lord. Sometimes he speaks to me in dreams, and I think I learned a lot about that, because like sometimes your dreams are so from the flesh and so from your conscience of just like something that happened the day before, or something you're thinking of a lot and it happens in a dream. But sometimes the Lord can speak to you. And like for me, or anyone that is listening that might hear the Lord from dreams, is I write my dreams out every night, and I go back and I read them. And if I know it's like a pattern or something from the Lord, then I can like pick up on that. And I think that's like, because I feel like it is hard, like being like, oh, is this my flesh talking, or is this the Lord talking? But then it goes back to just like praying with him and being in spending time with him. You like pick up on his voice more. And everyone's so different, which is so cool. And I just love like hearing other people, and they all have like such a different thing, and it's just amazing how he all loves us equally, as important to each other, but he just like gives like different gifts to us and shows like himself differently to each other.
But I love that.
That's awesome.
That's something I ask the Lord a lot of, just like, please, like, show me more of what your voice sounds like. I think that's a really cool thing to ask the Lord, of be like, I desire to know you, and like it's hard to know what your voice sounds like, and just like ask him to like how you would know when like your friend says your name, like that's them talking to you,
exactly.
and just be like, I want to know when that's you talking to me, and like how to discern that. And I feel like he hears that and like will honor that.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
This is kind of random, but I was watching this TikTok the other day, and I'm so on like Christian TikTok. It's really funny. And this girl was talking about how she has, have you ever heard of like secret like passcodes with God? I never thought it was like this thing, but like say you're like praying for something and it's maybe like a sign, like, okay, if I see a blue truck, like maybe that's you, like you're there, you know? And so she prayed over, I guess it was just like a decision of, I think it was which college she was going to. And she was like, okay, God, if I'm going to this college, like, let me see a pink truck. I think it was a pink truck, actually. And so she prayed this, and she's like, I'm not seeing this pink truck. Like, seriously, like, why aren't you there? So then a couple months after, she forgot about what she was like kept asking the Lord. And then she sees it, and she was like, oh, that's so cool. And I think it's just a random like tangent, but it's like, when we aren't like so expectant on our ways, and when it's our timing, like he provides, and like it's just a cool like reminder of like when we're praying for something, maybe it doesn't happen, and then we stop being just so like obsessed with whatever we're praying about, and we just move on, and we just still like have like the faith in the Lord and still walk with him, just not thinking about whatever we're like praying over and stuff. And then it like, you come and you see it, and it's just like a perfect way of being like, he's so faithful. And like going on with just like hearing his voice in prayer, it's like another reminder of like he works when we least expect it. And it's like, I think the same goes to like when we like keep asking him like to hear his voice, like we will, but like, you know, like we'll hear it. But I think it's a part of like also like having the faith and trusting in him that he will give us that on his time, you know? Kind of. That was so random, but I was like, I had to tell you that because it was
totally
just so
makes sense.
funny.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool that the Lord like does stuff like that, because he so doesn't have to be like, oh, you wanted to see me this way, that I'll, like, I don't know, I just think I like never want the Lord to feel like he's in a box of like I can only speak how
100%.
like Ella's asking me to, but like it is so kind of him of like you always call them God winks.
Yes, God winks.
So like being like, oh man, like he didn't even have to do that, and he did that for me. It just like an extra little like, I know that this is how you wanted to hear me, and so sometimes he'll honor that, and that's really cool. But also like you're saying, like not expectant that he's just gonna speak like that. It's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I feel like this is all I have for us,
perfect.
but I'm gonna pray for us, and then can you close us out?
Perfect.
Okay. Jesus, thank you so much for just letting Ella just come on this podcast and just speaking so much truth about you and about prayer and about just hearing your voice. And I just pray that all the listeners listening to this podcast today will just get to hear your voice clearly, Lord, and that you just help them become prayer warriors and become warriors, not war. Anyways, and Lord, just help them just become just so intimate with you. And I just want them to just get to build their relationship with you, because you already love us. Like, you've loved us first, and everyone gets the opportunity to just have a relationship with you. And I think that is so cool. And I think it's so cool just having other people on this podcast get to talk about different journeys they have, and I just hope that inspires that the people listening today. And thank you so much for just everything you're doing with this platform, and it's all for your glory. It's none for us, Lord. And I just pray that you let us have a great rest of the week for me and Ella, Lord, and everyone listening.
Yeah, God, thank you that we get to know you, and we don't have to know you as a God that's distant, that we get to walk with you. And just thank you for the gift of prayer, that you desire to talk with us. Just don't want to take that for granted, because it would not have been wrong if you were like, I'm gonna meet these people and I don't really desire to know them, but you desire to know us. And I just am really thankful for that. Thank you for just the price you paid for that. I just know that was not easy, but you thought we were worth it. I just ask that this last few minutes was honoring to you, and that truth was spoken, Lord. And our soul desires just you, and to know you and to walk with you in intimacy with you, Lord. I just ask that you would be teaching us that, Lord. Align our desires with you. Teach us what it looks like to hear from you. Teach us what your voice sounds like. We just want to know you, and I can't wait until we're in heaven and we get to just like see you and lock eyes with you and know what you look like, know what your voice sounds like so clearly. God,
yes.
That's gonna be so awesome. But until then, I just ask that we do this life well, and that we pray as people who know their Father and know who they belong to. Thank you for Olivia and just how you made her and that she started this. And we love you a lot, God. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, Ella, for coming on. And thank you to everyone that's listening. If you have any questions or any topics you want us to cover, just feel free to email. I have my email on my Instagram. It's just Live Out Love Podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.